Hey folks, KILT-MAN here. KILT-MAN at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Have you got ants in your pants? Have you? Have you? I'm a wee bit itchy today, but I've got no pants on because I'm wearing a kilt, so my itch is a little bit more infernal. Anyway, this video is inspired by Gina Long. Gina Long, who's been with the channel since it began, I think. And parole should be coming up very soon for you, Gina, so don't worry. You might make a clean getaway. Now, what it is, in the last video I did, which was a completely and utterly stream of consciousness talk about the fact that we got mince pies in October, Christmas mince pies in October. And then I went on to talk about my current job and the absolute random bizarreness of that. But I was playing music in the background and Gina said oh, great video, KILT-MAN. I love the music in the background. This is in the comments. So I got back to her and said oh, what was it playing? Was it Phantasm? She went, no, that was on, but you played the music to Them, 1954, Gordon Douglas, creature feature, one of my favourite monster movies of all time. Them, that's Them, exclamation mark, poof. And I had to ask her because, sometimes I just play music and I may have a reason during the video, but, in retrospect, I'm kind of why did I play that? But then again, that would give the impression that I watch my videos back, which I do not tend to do. That would give me a huge degree of vanity, which I do not possess. I mean, look at me. Vain? No. Be like, oh yeah. Get all the denizens of the Kilt Mansion to sit around. Here's KILT-MAN's latest video. Listen to this bit. Oh, listen to this story here. Oh, okay, he's great. But where you going? Where you going? Go. And I sit and watch it myself. Watching my videos back would be tantamount to watching myself drink myself to death. Which reminds me, I still have the dregs of Highland single malt. There's literally about 3 or 4 millimeters left, but that's Scotch, and it's worth it. Cheers, y'all. Cheers, Gina. That's gone, almost. A bit more slides back down, and you can always retrieve that at a later date. There's plenty more behind me, don't worry about that. But yeah, so I was playing the soundtrack to the film, Them, the soundtrack by Bronislaw Caper, who's most famous for actually doing the 1962 Marlon Brando, Trevor Howard version of Mutated on the Bounty. Great score, not a great film. Looks wonderful, but it's not a brilliant telling of the story. But Them is outstanding in every way. I have done a video review of it on the channel. I have done an entire watch-along party for Them as well. I've discussed it many times, so I'm not really going to go in depth on the full movie. I've done all that, and I'll put links below to the respective reviews and watch parties. But it's Halloween, so I think I'm going to resurrect something in the next few days, because we've only got just, I think, a week and a day to Halloween now. So 8 days left. In fact, tomorrow being the Friday, it's exactly 7 days from tomorrow to Halloween. So 7 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 7 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Yes, I'm going to do a lot more. And I'll be able to do a lot more because I'm not working all next week, because I work school term time. And the little miscreants and ne'er-do-wells are off next week. So, Kilty is free of the burden. And so it should do a lot more stuff. But I thought I'd resurrect, which is a great word for the Halloween sort of period. Resurrections. Something I did a long time ago, great horror moments, great sort of scenes in movies which really sort of, set the bar and disturb and, really make the hairs in the back of your neck rise. Now, I've done a whole load years ago in a little sort of series that I did. But I think I might do something slightly different this time, slightly different. Moments in films which are genuinely unnerving. And there you go. There's a major case in point, he says, pointing. That's the giant ants of the film, them, and their stridulation. They make a noise. Ants make a noise. In real life, ants communicate with each other, and they coordinate, and they make this what's called a stridulation, which is like this high-pitched, we just heard it there, amplified for the movie, because the ants in the movie are amplified enormous fold. But there are moments in this movie which, not really to do with the giant ants themselves crushing people in their big mandibles and stalking across the New Mexico desert, and then the storm drains and of Los Angeles. None of that stuff. The genuine horror stuff with a great big, huge animatronic, puppets, which they had back in the day, and they still look great. They just don't move very fast. That's the problem with the ants in this movie. They don't move like ants would really move. Ants are really quick. They can scurry about. You imagine, in reality, if you had giant ants, it would be as they say in the movie, it'd be the biblical end, and the beast will take over the earth and all this. And, the ants are caused by atomic mutation from testing atomic bombs in the desert, which they did do, of course. And it irradiated the earth and affected the ants in particular, and they've grown to huge proportions. The 1950s was full of atomic mutations, of course, and throwbacks like the KILT-MAN, Creature from Black Lagoon, and many other beasties and critters. But the giant ants, and Tarantula, of course, Jack Arnold, which is outstanding, and I've definitely covered that. I think I've done a commentary and a really big review of it. I think I have anyway. I've definitely talked about it a lot. And that's outstanding, of course. But Them is a much better movie. So the science behind it, again, is ridiculous. We know that you can't have a giant spider and you can't have giant ants. They have exoskeletons. Exoskeletons are based on gravity, and their respiratory systems, if they grew to large size in the form that they have as they are, like a big spider and army ants, red ants, fire ants, big bastard ants, if you grew them to like several meters long, well, they couldn't exist without gravity. It just wouldn't work. They'd be crushed under their own weight. So says science. But why are we massively afraid of spiders? I'm going to go off on a tangent here. You guys know about me being bitten by spiders. I've talked about it at length. I've shown you some of the freaky beasties that have been in the Kilt Mansion. That multicoloured thing that lived in our old conservatory was outstandingly beautiful, but incredibly creepy. It was a pure alien. It was like it had come out of the mist. It come out of the void. It's extra dimensional bloody spider. And it was there, and then it finally died. It curled up and it died of its own accord. It just went, nothing doing for me here, and just curled up on one of the beams and just died and hung there in its own web. But we have an irrational, they say irrational fear, a phobia of spiders, arachnophobia. Is there an antiphobia? I'm not sure what that would be. And I still think people are born with this phobia. They have no memory of why they're afraid of the spiders. In a cot, a big spider crawled across your face. That's what they always say, the psychoanalysts and all that, the child psychologists, the phobiologists. And I don't believe that for a second. I think back in man's bygone times, caveman went up against bloody big arachnids, much bigger than what we get now. And there's a race memory of that. So you see this, 8 legs, fucking little body, and then a big fat bulbous abdomen, and a fucking stinger, and big fucking chompy mandibles. It's the stuff of nightmare. It's pure nightmare. We've had movies, books, artistry since man's first ability to tell stories, to, you know, I've just seen something fucking makes a web and it can eat you, you know, and then telling his cave tribe. Well, and that's gone through time ever since. So every generation, you're born and you hate spiders. I know there's plenty of people that adore spiders, and spiders are great. They are nature's gardeners. I love them. I don't want to hurt them, but you know, you overstep the boundary, I'm gonna have to destroy you. Live up in the ceiling for a bit in the corner over there. I'll give you a name. Live there for 2-3 weeks. I'll get to know you. Be great. The minute you come down and start scuttling about, I'm afraid your days are over. You surprise me. You spring up somewhere. No, you're gonna get booted and squished. Ants, on the other hand, I do not have a problem with. No, never have. I don't mind ants at all. We've had infestations when we lived in Kirkdale in Liverpool. We come home from work, me and Mrs. Kiltman. This is pre-kids and all that. Like, we're dead young and like, yeah. Come home from work. Let's quickly have some beans on toast and let's go out and party. Let's go out bevying again. It's what we're going to do. And it was a summer's evening, and we walked into the house and there was a pathway. I stepped over in the hall. I thought, what the hell is that? Is it a shadow on the hall like that? So I just stepped over, like, what the hell is that like? That shadow was moving. That shadow was about that wide, right? That wide. And it went right the way past our front room, past our back living, well, into our back living room, I should say. Into our back living room. It was just a 3 up, 2 down. It was a strange house. And this shadow went up the wall in the back living room to the window, to the top of the window, and out the window. And then as it transpired, went down the other side and into the air. We had a yard, you know. I know in America, you call your back garden the yard. Well, the thing is, you know, a yard in the UK means it's paved over. There's no garden there. It's just pavement. It's a yard and of concrete. And we had this, and this shadow went into the yard, into the concrete. What was it? Yes, it was an army of ants on the move through our house. And you're like, when you realised, oh my God, and they're relentless. These are little buggers, but that means there's gazillion billions of these fuckers, and they're very regimented. Ants move like an army. Well, they are an army of ants. The colony can move and it can migrate and it wages war. The only other species on the planet, our planet Earth, this one that we're on right now, the only other species that wages war is ants. And they do it for reasons of almost insect politics. They go, there's Seth Brundlefly, you know, from David Cronenberg's The Fly, Jeff Goldblum, insect politics. That mound over there has got more fauna and stuff, flora that we want to eat. So we're gonna invade another ant colony or a colony of termites. We're gonna take them out. So they coordinate and they will attack another colony and overwhelm and destroy them. Then they'll have strategies and tactics. You know, they'll put a feint. You know, like we'll draw them out with this battalion of ants here. And the enemy will come out, and then we're going to swoop around and get them from behind. And while all their proper best troops have come out, we're going to go into their nest and we're going to take them all out. Ants are super, super intelligent. I don't find them scary as a singular little creature, but I find it quite fascinating. We actually had an ant farm for a while, but we killed them all in the first day. We basically killed them in the first 24 hours. We put too much of a blob of jam. They said, you know, you put the sands in there, you put your ants in and all that. And put a little blob of jam in the side. You take a little plastic cup, you got a little pipette, put some jam in there, and then watch them all scurry and make their little water traps and make their little colonies and nests and egg chambers and all that kind of stuff. No, they all drowned themselves in the overwhelming dollop of jam that we put in there and killed the entire lot. Ant genocide. So that would have been a great backdrop for this, because I've got nothing ant-like. Mrs. KILT-MAN said, oh, we had an Ant and Dec annual when the kids were young, Ant and Dec. I thought that would be brilliant. Anthony McPartlin, we'd have a picture of him behind us. And no, we've given the annual to charity, because even the kids didn't want that shite. So all I could think of was really, well, the DVD and the Blu-ray of them, and Aliens and Alien itself. Aliens, of course, pays massive homage to them, with the character of Newt, and Carrie Henn plays Newt. Ripley takes it as a surrogate daughter, having lost their daughter in the extended cut of Aliens, and Newt has survived, having witnessed their parents being killed by insectoid xenomorphic parasites. Aliens very definitely riffs on them in a great deal of sequences and references. So, you know, that's legit. But Carrie Henn's character of Newt very definitely takes on the character which we're going to talk about right now. The whole point of this video, you know me, I just go off on tangents and a big waffly introduction, and then we get to the main crux of the story. This, by the way, I have the full, proper, legit soundtrack to them by Bronislaw Kaper, but it's on the other hard drive. It's not on this. What you're hearing right now is the isolated score. So you hear gunshots, you hear wind whistling, you hear, well, a locomotive there. There's various actual sound effects are in there, and you hear the ants' stridulation as well. That horrible noise. I can't do it properly at all. I couldn't pass myself off as giant ants and go amongst their ranks making that noise. They'd all turn on me and go, "You fucking idiot." Yeah. Mandibles. Yeah. But it still sounds great, so we're going to do with that. But this video is about a creepy, really sinister moment which is really affecting and very emotional as well. The film has many shocks. In its first sort of third, the mystery of what's happening in the deserts of New Mexico are two heroic state policemen. Ben Peterson, played by James Whitmore, and I forgot his name now. What is it now? Ed Blackburn, played by Chris Drake. A spotter plane is in the desert and is seen. This is the opening of the movie. And I've seen a little girl wandering in the desert. This is daylight, wandering, and they radio it in, and the state troopers like James Whitmore and Chris Drake arrive and find this little girl who's clutching her doll, wearing a nightgown, and wandering through the deserts by Alamogordo, I should say, and New Mexico desert, holding this little doll with 1,000-yard stare, and she is incredible. She's played by, and I wish I could remember her name off the tip of my tongue, Sandy Descher, who went on to do a lot of movies after this, Miracle on 34th Street, and a few TV shows, but she kind of quit about the age of 12, maybe 14 years old. Didn't do any more movies and TV shows after that. But she's brilliant. In this, she's outstanding. And that shocked. You know, she literally is just in a state of absolute paranoid. You know, she's blanked everything else, holding her doll and just walking through the desert. Plane radios it in, and these guys find her, and they say, like, there's a car, a trailer, a camper van down the road, a couple of miles down the road. Maybe she's come from that. So they pick the little girl up, and like James Whitmore, Ben Peterson, he's like, you know, little girl, and he's doing that in front of her face, and she's like, she's so good at doing this. She is so 1,000-yard stare, so completely zonked out of it, zoided completely out. It's like, what the hell's happened to her? Okay, let's just put her in the car. Come on, and their compassion is brilliant. It's heartwarming. James Whitmore has, well, I've said this a million times before in all the coverage I've done on this movie. He looks like Mrs. KILT-MAN, Janet, my wife, her father. So my father-in-law, Big Bob Olty, he is the dead ringer of Bob Olty. And I've always said this. So when I watch it now, because Big Bob's gone now, and he's a great, great bloke. And when I watch them, I just see him, and Ben Peterson is the hero of this movie. And I always get really emotional about it because it's him. James Whitmore was also good. I think his last movie was for Peter Hyams in The Relic, and he plays an old scientist in a wheelchair. And much older James Whitmore looked like the much older Big Bob Olty. So all their life they've looked like one another, you know. So they put the girl in the car and they drive back to this camper van. And I'm not reviewing the movie, I'm not going to go through the whole bloody thing. I've done it all before. And they get there and there's a campfire outside, there's the car. The front of the camper van looks okay, they go in, but the back of it's ripped out. This hasn't been, you know, pushed out from the inside. Something's pulled it out, you know. So something's, you know, broken into it, like. And they find sugar all over the floor. And in the cupboard they find, like, she's clutching a little doll, this girl, the Ellenson girl. Best we find out, you know, don't find out her first name, but the Ellenson girl, that's the family. And there's a piece missing from the skull of the doll, and in a cupboard they find that piece of the doll. So they put it, they go like, yeah, she's from this camper van. Whoever was here, she's part of this family. But there's no one there. And they find a revolver, and of course bullets have been fired out of it, and that revolver belongs to an FBI agent. So the FBI get involved and they send down 18 foot tall of James Arness, one of the biggest movie stars ever. James Arness, Gunsmoke. James Arness also was in 1951's Christian Nyby, Howard Hawks' The Thing from Another World. He played the Thing. Statuesque, Frankenstein's monster style makeup. But you know how much I love that movie. It's another creature feature. Carpenter's version of The Thing is the masterpiece. This is a different telling, and it's bloody brilliant, and I love The Thing from Another World. So James Arness, without any makeup, in a great big massive suit, you know, he must have been, you know, dressed by High and Mighty, because he's huge. So he's the local FBI agent, the local office they got there, and he comes down and like they got to work all this out, and they got this little girl anyway, and the ambulance turns up, and in the desert, and like this girl hasn't spoken at all. She's just got this, you know, staring eyes, and just completely comatose, and they put her in the back of the ambulance, and like James Whitmore saying, you know, you're gonna take care of her, aren't you? You know, we're going to give her a smooth ride back into town. She'll be totally fine. And suddenly, they lie her down in the back of the ambulance, and you hear, let's get on it. You know what? That ant stridulation thing, it appears about 1 million times on this score, and when I try to find it, I can't bloody find it, can I? Come on. Give me the bloody ant noise. Yeah, bastards. They hear that, and the medical fella, the doctor, because they're going, what is that? You know, maybe it's the wind. And he goes, yeah, it can get pretty freakish in these parts. But behind them, the little girl just sits up and just stares with that noise, because she knows what that noise is. And it's brilliant. It's so sensationally done. Then it kind of goes away like it just did there. And then she just lies back down again. And obviously they ride into hospital. They take a cast of a print they find. Again, I don't want to go too much into this. They find a cast, they make a cast of a big strange print and like send it off to Washington and like, which they do. which is where it gets the FBI involved, and it brings in the two scientists, Doctors Medford, two of them. It's father and daughter team, and Edmund Gwen and what's her name, Joan Weldon, Pat, and Harold Medford, and they arrive. They're myrmecologists. Myrmecologists, you say? You know, what does that mean? Well, they're experts in bugs and critters and beasties, you know. And well, they've already worked out what the fuck this is. Like, oh, it can't be. But that print, it's got to be. But he won't tell anyone what it is. Anyway, the scene in question that I really want to get to. I know you're all wondering what's the big shocking sequence, KILT-MAN, that you've been bigging up throughout all this rhetoric and meandering, you know, banal crack. Well, the doctors, the scientists emerge there, and they're not saying what they think it is, and they're giving some vague hints, you know, and like they're muttering amongst themselves. An FBI guy, and I should say at this stage, Ben Peterson has lost his partner, Ed Blackburn, because after the little girl goes off in the ambulance, they drive off to go and see old Gramps Johnson, who runs like a rural, you know, general store. And it's this bit, you hear that wind. I'm like, well, I'm going to take that back a bit, because this sequence actually is one of my favourite horror sequences. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to go as in depth on this as I'm doing, but they drive up there, and it's all like the wind's howling and dust is flying everywhere, and they go into Gramps' store. The lights are swinging, and they're like, where's Gramps? And all the back of the store is smashed in again, like the camper van. So like, oh my God, it's another 911 or whatever, 922, whatever their code is they use. There's a lot of codes in this movie. And they check the till. There's no robbery here. There's coffee on the table, like the Mary Celeste. There's a meal there. Coffee's ready. The radio's playing. So, and you've got this whistling wind. This desert winds. That's not Santa Ana winds there, but it's howling wind. It can get pretty freakish in these parts. And it's lovely chiaroscuro lighting, so lots of black and white contrast, and the swinging light bulbs. And they pull open the trap door to the warehouse basement, and there's Gramps lying there. So it's our first dead body. He's lying there. He's all crunched up and broken. There's a bit of blood, and he's fucked up, good style, like. And they go, oh my God, you know. Right, Ed called us in. I'm gonna go back and see if that girl's spoken yet. And he's like, I'll stay here, and I'll wait till the backup get here and all that. And like, oh boy, James Whitmore, my father-in-law, goes like, all right, just stay loose. He's a much older guy than Ed Blackburn, and he's playing a sergeant. Ed Blackburn is a state trooper. He's a state police sergeant. And he's going like, just stay loose, okay? He's like, yeah, okay, will do. And it's a really tremendous scene. Off he goes, gets his car, drives off. Ed Blackburn's just walking around again, like in this the wrecked, you know, remnants of this general store. The wind is howling, and he hears that. In the old school way in movies, he pulls out his revolver, and his cap's on a jaunty angle, and just stands there like that. Nowadays, you're like that, looking, you know, watching all your angles, covering all your arcs and all that. Like, he just goes, stands there. I'm gonna play that again because this is the scene. In a beautiful shot, he turns off the overhead, you know, the lights, little string, comes out again to another room, sort of light there, finds the light switch, not that side, mostly this side, flips it off, and this noise. Goes out to investigate, and you see him go past a couple of windows, and then he goes off the frame, and you hear bang, 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 bang. He fires his full 6 shots, and you hear a scream, and you hear that stridulation go completely chaotic. and then it's gone. And then you don't see him again. But of course, they work out, well, I left Ed Blackburn there. Ben, you look like shit. You should go home. This is the captain. You look like shit. You should go home and like have some rest. No way. He's my friend. He fired off 6 shots. Well, maybe he missed. You know, Ed Blackburn was a crack shot. He could hit anything he aimed at. I've heard that line a million times about people that couldn't hit a fucking barn door with a blunderbuss at 2 yards, you know, 2 yards away. They can hit anything they aim at. No. Anyway, Ed Blackburn's gone. And in a horrific scene when we discover that the ants are real and all the fucking things, you see a rib cage and a skull, and you see his gun belt and his tunic and his badge, and you're like, oh, he's been devoured by the ants. Again, it's not the scene I mean. Ben Peterson and FBI agent James Arness, whose name in it is, what is it now? Robert Graham. FBI agent Robert Graham. They've gone to the hospital to see the girl, see if she can talk, but they've got the 2 doctors with them as well, the father and daughter team, and who again have not said what they think this is. Gramps, old Gramps' body, he could have died in any number of ways. His spine's broken, his neck's broken, this has been done, 2 puncture wounds in him, and enough formic acid in to kill 10 men. Formic acid. Do-do-do-do-do. And of course, doctors are going like, formic acid? Da-deesh. A little girl sitting there, and this is the scene. This is, I'm going to go back to the more creepy stuff. There's the plane again. And the little girl sitting there, again, 1,000 yards there, and they're still in a dressing gown and like still got I think she's got like a pajamas on or something, like I don't know what she's got on now. And she's just like that. And this girl, she is unbelievably good. It's heartbreaking to see her. And in a long scene, doesn't blink once, she just stares. And they're going like, look, there's a nurse there, and all these official people are there as well. Like, and this nurse is going like, look, you know, she get a long list of conditions, and the FBI agent's going like, but I'm sorry, what? He's the big dullard. He's FBI, for God's sake. You know, what does that mean? It means she can't talk. She's gone to a comatose state of shock. We need a catharsis to jolt her out of it. And Edwin Gwen, who plays the fatherly Dr. Medford, he goes, Pat, that's his daughter's name, Pat, do you want to get the acid out? And the nurse is going, acid? He's going, it may just provide the jolt you need. And she brings out, because they found formic acid by one of they've been out and they've seen some bits and bobs and investigated, and they've got some formic acid which they found at the scene of where she disappeared from. And like, you know, they put it in a little cup or a little phial, and they waft it under their nose, and it doesn't happen immediately. And she's just sitting there, seeing something which none of us can see, locked in a reverie of a shock of something which she's struggling with the aftermath of, under her nose, under her nose, under her nose. And then, I'm not going to do it, her face contorts and she lets out this horrendous shriek of sheer blood-curdling terror. I can't do it. I was going to try to... and gets out of the chair and runs to the corner and shrieks, them! Exclamation marks, exclamation marks, exclamation marks, them! And they're all like, oh my God. And like, no one goes to help her apart from James Whitmore, you know, Ben Peterson, State Trooper Sergeant, runs over and he picks her up and cradles her. It's you know, from a film from the 50s, that moment has got to be one of the biggest shockers of that decade, I would say, because it involves a child and it involves something which we haven't seen yet, but you know is genuinely horrific, hugely menacing, and the film's brilliance is its build-up of mystery and suspense, and well, we know what it is, but we all know what it is. The bloody trailer gives it away for one thing, but audiences would have not been expecting the kids in jeopardy element of this movie, of which this isn't the only bit. We get two kids who lose their father, who gets his arm ripped off by the ants. This is later on in the storm drains of LA. And then the army go in there and flamethrowers and gas bombs and fucking all sorts of shit. But the mother, the two kids are trapped in there. So and they are good as well. The look of fear on their face when these big, there's only 3 ants got made, and only about 2 of them were actually full bodies. The rest are just heads and the arse end and a couple of legs and an antennae. Shoot the antennae! Shoot the antennae, says Edmund Gwen during the big desert. When we first see an ant, and it menaces his daughter when they're out checking around in, again, freakish wind, dust storm. They got goggles on and all that, shoot the antennae! Shoot the antennae! And they shoot it, and it goes ping, and it hangs loose. Shoot the other antennae! Shoot the other antennae! He's useless without them! They're shooting that. And in a great sequence, James Whitmore, Ben Peterson, he's fired all his shots with his drum. He goes, fuck this. And it's like he runs away. He's like, and he just legs it back to the police cruiser. And they kind of go, where the fuck are you going? And he goes to the boot and comes out with a fucking Tommy gun. A fucking Tommy gun. Was that issued back in the 50s to state troopers? A Tommy gun. And he's there, and fucking destroys this ant. And it goes, like that. In the sand, and he fucking blows his eyeballs out as well. Also, it's like Edmund Gwen should be going, I only said shoot the antennae. And they go, what is this? He goes, and they come up with the Latin term for an ant. He goes, well, yeah, but what is it? It's an ant. It's a common household garden American ant. And they go, this? Yeah. Where were those bombs set off? Remember those hydrogen bombs, the atomic bombs, when they tested, it's brilliant. It's genuinely brilliant. But as I say, that sequence where the girl, let's give her name again. I wish I could remember her name. Sandy Descher or Descher. She's incredible. I don't know how they coaxed that performance out of her, but to walk through the desert at the start, because she's the opening sequence, just walking through the desert, clutching her doll, and her eyes, no blinking. And then to be picked up and doing that in front of her face, and what the hell? And then she hears that stridulation and rises up behind him, and it dies down. And they didn't see her rise up at all. And then she falls back. It's brilliant on Gordon Douglas's part of direction and storytelling, because we know that she's associating that with what's happened. And these two guys, at the time, it's Ben Peterson and a doctor for the ambulance, don't see her rise up like that. So they just hear this strange noise and don't realise the connection. But we've seen it. It's superbly done. And then her awakening from shocked catatonia is just fucking unbelievable. I struggle to watch it. A lot of people nowadays, I obviously review older movies a lot and I always big them up, and I talk to people in the pub. You know what I do, I have in the boozer with lots of I've just finished that, haven't I? Lucky I've got this little tiny grouse miniature here, little tiny grousette, a grouselet. I can't be arsed opening up. There's a load of single malts behind it. You know there is. I've shown you them all before. I can't be arsed opening them just yet. So I'll just do a little miniature. Cheers, Sean. Little mini cheers. Mini cheers. To all the ants I've crushed before. When I talk about these movies, people of a certain generation go, oh, I remember that, yeah. Oh, I love that. So 1950s and old Universal movies, a certain generation know and love them. When I talk to younger people, and they go, oh, you're KILT-MAN, aren't you? And I do get this a lot, and I'm not making this up. I get this a lot. Oh, you're KILT-MAN. I've seen you walking your husky around. How is the dog? And I'm going like, she died at Christmas, just gone. You know, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry about that. No, but I get a lot of people saying to me like, hey, I've seen your channel. I've heard about your movie channel, so I've watched it. And but you're going about these old movies, and they talk about Hammer movies, and I get that they're a generation, several generations removed. So to watch these films, for a lot of people now, I know the cat's prowling around there. For a lot of younger people, they don't. It's just it's old-fashioned, quaint, cozy, cheapo effects, and like it's always black and white. I don't like black and white, you know. But many younger people do, and I've found a lot of people who are literally less than half my age who love films like this, like them, like Tarantula, Creature of Black Lagoon, the old Boris Karloff Frankensteins, Bela Lugosi. They love it all. And to meet people who are so much younger and who have a real sort of obsession, okay, I won't call it obsession, but enthusiasm for films like this, and know them and can quote them and relate to, and when I go off at length, you know, like, oh, what about this scene and blah 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 blah, and they did this and then the director did this and blah blah blah, and I'm giving fucking far too much information, but they're actually invested and interested in what's going on and what I'm saying, and they can relate to it. That I find is wonderful, to bridge that gap, you know, because you know I'm an older guy now. I'm an old crusty old fart now, but I'm also, I talk to a lot of people who are way older. But that cat, can you hear that cat fucking around with someone over there? Like, she's trying to compete with the ant stridulation. She'll be meowing and caterwauling in a minute, like. But I can talk to people who are in their late 60s, 70s and 80s. You know, I can happily talk to them because they're still boozing quite merrily away, you know. And I can talk to people of my age. Actually, it's people of my age I find it harder to talk to. I don't know why that is. Maybe we're all trying to compete. I think you know, I'm not going to name names, but a lot of people my age haven't got any hair. They've gone grey, or they just haven't got any hair left at all. And you can see this guy here, and they must be thinking like, you bastard. You've got a big fat ugly face, but you bastard, you know. Yeah, I fucking wish I had hair. I was a big fan of the 80s stuff. I like mullets and big spiky hair and all that, and fucking, no, and you can still do that, you bastard. Well, good luck to you. You know, there's always like, what's that thing? I think it's called mane, and it's a spray on hair, instant hair thickener. Just spray it on it, and your hair goes, whoa! Suddenly you've got a big mane of hair. Me ass. I bet someone spray it on their ass as well, man. That cat's found something to play with. But it's nice to be able to talk. I have talked about the likes of this, them, they, oh, pronouns, many times, and I've never really met anyone that's gone like, oh, is that a shit, that. They've all remembered bits. Oh, that's one of the giant ants. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And in the scene in the tunnels where it gets him and like, oh, God, he's like, he's screaming, he's trying to save the kids. And I'm going, yeah, exactly. And when they go in, they go down in the ant nest, and they've gas bombed them all and all this. And I'm going, yeah. And then the wall gives way. They were trapped. It was one of the traps, the fake walls the ants build. And an ant comes, they should all be dead by now or comatose. You know, they can burn them all with flamethrowers. Again, aliens, very similar to aliens. James Cameron massively riffed on them. An ant comes through the wall. You go, oh, the shock of that, like. And these are people who were dead young. They're weaned on the likes of, well, the latest Scream movies and Nightmare on Elm Street stuff and all that. Like, you know, the modern shockers, Conjuring Part 29 and The Nun, fucking whatever. But they still have appreciation for the genuine shocks and the real, you know, the imagination that goes into these older movies where, look, even back in the day, no one was going to fall for the big shambling, you know, huge ant. You think about the reality I was saying before, early on, about like big ants and big spiders can't possibly exist. Although there's no real reason why we'd have a race memory of big giant spiders and like our terror of spiders. It's born out of something. They were fucking bigger. I'm telling you that. They were bigger. Whether they were aliens with super gravitational defiant exoskeletons, they were here and we've remembered it. Passed down from generation to generation for eons of evolution. I don't know what's going with that now. But if giant ants did exist, the size of these things, it doesn't matter what weapons mankind can bring in. Oh, gas bombs and napalm. Oh, bullshit. Imagine, I described the army of ants that came through our house in Kirkdale, a suburban part of Liverpool, vastly populated, hugely densely concretised, and a fucking vast swarm of ants marched through our house and out the front, came from the back, went out. And I should have said, we didn't do anything about it because we watched the army move, and they must have been there throughout the entire day while we've been out. So we watched the tail end of them go, and once they'd gone. That was it. Then we were fucking sealing up all the holes and everything. Like take the window out, put fucking steel fucking barricades down, and we never got plagued again. But so I was going with that. So if you had a massive swarm of huge-sized ants, and they move fast, and they got big fucking and they got stingers, and and you are not going to stand a chance. Film composer Michael Giacchino, I've discussed him many times. I've discussed what his intentions are. How many years ago now? 1, 2, 3, possibly even 4 years ago. No, I think it's 3 years ago. He announced, after he's done Werewolf by Night, his Marvel one-shot live-action movie, short movie about the lycanthropic character Jack Russell, called Jack Russell, from Marvel Comics, Werewolf by Night, horror comic. And it was great. I reviewed that, and he announced he was a movie composer with many scores to his name, many of which I adore. I think he's a great composer. But he stepped into directing, and with Werewolf by Night, I thought it was great. And but then he announced, I'm doing a remake of them. Now this is 2022. It's got to be something like that. So several years ago, and fuck all has been heard about that since. Fuck all. Now he said, and I'm going to see if I can find this. I've got the quote he came out with. Let's see if I can find this now. You watch, I won't be able to find the bloody thing. And I have discussed it before. Hang on 1 second. Oh, fuck. This might not work at all. Get your fingers crossed. Right, let's just see. I'll give you the quote that he gave. Yeah, we got it. Right. He said, this is about the original film, about his take on it would be. The original, it was sort of discussing the oncoming nuclear age that we found ourselves in and were woefully unprepared for as human beings. Perfectly true. As all the 1950s monster movies were, about the atomic age and about communism as well. And so I thought, there's so much going on in the world. He means now that we clearly, that was clearly a lesson that we didn't learn as humans, and it feels like it's a story that could be told again today with a lot of the shit that's going on in the world. I love that movie dearly. It's a very special film. That was his quote from back then. Nothing's happened since. Nothing. Apart from one thing. In April this year, we got told that, Matt Reeves, who did the Batman and a few other movies as well, did a couple of Planet of the Apes movies, the reboot of Planet of the Apes, that Matt Reeves is producing it. So that's a good pedigree. Matt Reeves and Michael Giacchino, and massive fans of, because there was a quote from Matt Reeves that, this is a great, I love this movie, and he's a great director for it, and together we're going to take this into a new age, and blah blah blah, jar jar jar, binks, and nothing's happened. It's still listed as being in development, which means fuck all, absolutely fuck all. He said at the time as well, like, with today's effects, we can have CG, obviously, we can have vast armies of ants overtaking cities, tanks, the military, the whole thing, Back in 1954, they did a damn good job. You had the ants on a ship, the queen ants landed on a bloody ship, and took that over. And in literally a 30-second shot, you've got a poor radio guy going, and the Morse code, trying to say giant ants taking over the ship, blah, blah. And you see in the background, fucking sailors are getting munched up and crunched up and all that, and then one comes crashing through the wall and gets the radio guy. It's fucking great. But you hear about pilots who've seen these strange things, because they put out this sort of you've got a monitor for strange activity, UFO sightings, mass migrations of wildlife, strange thefts of sugar and candies and sweets, and it's great. Unexplained disappearances, missing people, alleged or apparent suicides. Yeah, and they're gonna look out for these, and watch out for a young Leonard Nimoy in the sequence in Washington DC, I think it is, in a military HQ, when they're monitoring all over America, all these strange things are taking place. They're trying to find, because they know that 2 queen ants have escaped. One's got on the ship and they've blown the ship up, but another one's escaped. Where is it? Well, we know where it is. It's in the storm drains of LA. But a young Leonard Nimoy gets a telex or a teletype and all that, and it comes out with this thing. But it's Spock. It's a young Spock. And of course, in Tarantula, for Jack Arnold, you have who kills the giant tarantula at the end with napalm? Who? None other than Clint Eastwood. Yeah. Even though the pilot clearly wears an oxygen mask and his helmet and all that, it's Clint's steely eyes and it's Clint's voice. Clint did it. Clint is also in his 2 major start-off roles. This is before Rawhide as well, and obviously The Man with No Name, the Dollars trilogy. He's also in Revenge of the Creature, the second Creature of Black Lagoon movie, and he plays a rather idiotic lab assistant, fucking 6'4", shoulders out there like that, and a big fucking his old 1950s and 60s hairdo, with a big fucking quiff like that, and he can't find his lab rat. It's in his fucking pocket, his lab jacket pocket. It's in there. So it's Clint is in there. It is in these movies too. So it's great. It's great that you got it. And Leonard Nimoy's in there. So anyway, this seems a bit daft. Cheers, y'all. It's like a mini cheers. It's an ant-sized bottle of whiskey. So Gina, this is because of you. And you may have instigated another series of shock moments. Basically, it just gives us a chance to talk about films we know and love. You can pick any moment. This movie has an entire smorgasbord of eerie moments and shock moments and killer moments, and it's brilliant. As a police procedural, you've got all that, the military get involved, and it's all the detective stuff, the scientific stuff, bringing all the big wigs and the scientists and the politicians and the military heads of departments on board to say, look, we've got to keep this quiet, and only now they can go public with it. LA is under martial law right now, and they explain why. A couple of weeks ago, we found in the New Mexico desert, evidence of huge irradiated mutant ants. Now these are the same kind of ants that you get in your garden or your house, but they're 15 million times bigger, and they're dangerous. They've already killed several people, and they're on the rampage. There could be millions of them, and people are going like, on the streets, what? It's all the broadcast. They're going like, fucking hell. So you're under martial law now. As it's being broadcast, it's all jeeps and tanks and fucking trucks full of troops going past, and they're all going like, people are shining shoes and they're going like, the fuck? Giant ants, you say? And there's a couple in a convertible in like Lover's Lane who've been making out, and suddenly he hears it and he goes, breaks off, turns over like, shit, you know. I'm afraid I would. It doesn't matter. Giant ants, giant spiders. If I've got a chance of getting a bit of giant ooh la la, I'd have a go at that first, and then worry about the arachnids and the creepy crawlies. But he's like, oh god, no, we're out of here. Them is outstanding. It is available on Blu-ray. Looks great. Of course, it's a black and white movie, but the title comes out in absolutely splendid, vivid, technical, and red. Fuck off. Them comes out of that exclamation mark. Bright red on a black and white vista of the New Mexico desert. It's outstandingly good, and great score, great effects for their time. When you see the long shot of what's her name, Pat, who's the daughter myrmecologist, and with her big yellow sand and wind goggles on, like, gets menaced by a giant ant, which suddenly comes over the sand ridge behind her, like, and drops down. And then you see a long shot when the others, the FBI agents and you know, her dad and Ben Peterson, state trooper, fucking see all this. They start running towards her. You see her on the deck in the middle distance, and the ants coming towards her like that. And you know what? That looks brilliant. Of course, in reality, it would be moving super fast. And that's the thing I was saying before. In reality, if this ever took place, we wouldn't stand a fucking chance. We wouldn't stand a chance. The millions of ants that move around, if they all suddenly come up that size, we're gone. We are fucking gone. The same year this film came out, you had the movie version of a short story which is brilliant, called Lineagen versus the Ants. I've always called it Lineagen, but I think it's pronounced Lineagen. And it's about a plantation owner in Brazil, a cocoa plantation owner, who gets told that there's a huge horror horde of army ants are coming towards him. Now, this is genuine. This happens, you know, in South America and other, you know, places of ant infestation, where you can have a colony, a marching army of ants, like what we had in Kirkdale. Only they went nasty. They're just on the move. You know, fuck this. We're leaving Kirkdale. We're going to Seaforth. We're going down the dock road. You know, and we're off. But in these jungly areas, these ants are much bigger and they're fucking aggressive, and they devour everything in their path, and they move like a single of gazillion trillions of these fuckers. They could be a mile wide and like 4 or 5 miles long in their colony, and they'll destroy every bit of vegetation and wildlife in their path to wherever they're going. And it's happened. Many people have died, and they've destroyed huge elements of forest. Nothing compared to what humans do, but you know, but it's a very real thing. Now, this story told, like, he's warned, Lineagen's told, you know, in the original short story, look, they're coming towards you. You're gonna have to get the fuck out of here, because it's gonna go straight through your plantation and they're gonna kill everything in their path. It's happened before. You've got no chance. And he refuses to budge. So he does all sorts of things. He builds moats around his plantation and the big mansion house. A lot of his staff try to fucking leave and all that and get eaten and chomped and all that. And in the end, he floods the place. But he has to suit up and fight against the ants, cover himself in petrol and kerosene and all that, like, which they don't like. And but he still gets bitten to buggery and hell and back, like, and they get in his nose and all sorts of things, and under his eyelids, and he does save. He loses all his crops and all that, like, but he saves the mansion house and most of his staff. And he recovers afterwards, or something like that, I can't remember rightly. But they made a film of it with Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston Moses, for God's sake, the Omega Man. Oh God, I just said the Omega Man. I've never done that in the past. It's the Omega Man. I say Omega, you say Omega. Let's call the whole thing off. But it's Charlton Heston and Sutherland Green, Planet of the Apes, and he plays Lion in the movie version. Now, to stretch out the movie, they had to bring another element in because there's not much in the short story really, and it came out the same year as them. Them was black and white, apart from its title, Them, but this film was pure technicolor and big and lavish, big stars. You had William Conrad is in it, who gives the warning, and they're called Matumba or Mabumba or something like that. It means army of ants. And now William Conrad played in several radio versions of this short story, playing the Charlton Heston character. Now in the movie, Charlton Heston's a right twat, and he gets a mail order bride, and she comes over, and at the first hour of the film, he's an absolute cunt to her. He's bloody horrible. And he does some stuff which is not in the script. He pours perfume all over it. Why don't you wear this? You're my wife. You know, you should be wearing this. I bought this for you. And it wasn't in the script, and she's like, fucking hell, what are you doing, lad? You know, fucking stink of this shit now. And but he gets told about the ants. About an hour in the film, the ants are coming for you. And it's William Conrad, who's played that character before, who tells him. And he's like, I'm not moving. And begrudgingly, him and his mail order wife, who can't stand each other to begin with, they form a bond and fall in love. And they defend the property, like in the book. And you get this. And it's wonderful effects work for its time. But they're not big ants, they're just millions of fucking little bastards. But they do devour people, and you get explosive defensive systems, moats and all that. Like, and it's not bad. It's a proto. Look at that. It looks like I've got a bald spot. It's just my hair is like flicking forward. It looks to me like I'm going bald, but I'm not going bald. I'm not. I tell you, not yet. I might review that. The short story is called Lionigan or Lionigen versus the Ants. The film is called The Naked Jungle. I might review it. Other ant movies: Empire of the Ants, Bertie Gordon, and Phase 4 with Bradford Dillman. No, I'm wrong. Nigel Davenport. Bradford Dillman was in Bug with about the cockroaches. Okay, let's try and get these things right. But Phase 4 is about super intelligent ants. And it's good. It's not brilliant, but it's a good 70s sci-fi eco horror. What if? Empire of the Ants is about massive, huge ants, with Joan Collins being menaced by these huge ants as well. But the ants in that, they're not better than the ants in this. In fact, I'd say they're a step back, and that's in full colour as well. It's a bit nastier, perhaps, but there's a few more killings. But then, you want to watch a film about giant ants, or ants in general on the rampage, Them is it. Them's habit. Right, folks, that was I don't know what that was, to be honest. It was meant to be about the little girl and her reaction, and how stunningly stellar and spellbinding and haunting all her scenes are, and how it affects you. Because when you see her, when she comes round, she's witnessed her parents being devoured, snatched up in the mandibles of giant ants and taken away, or even just shredded and dragged off their carcass. And she's managed to escape and just completely stunned, managed to walk through the desert. Completely, it's fucking horrible, folks. There's no two ways about it. And what a way to start a film. What a great mystery to bring in. And it's great that, James Whitmore is outstanding. His faith, the compassion and the warmth in his eyes, it's just, he's brilliant. So he's genuinely brilliant. And when she comes round and the shriek and the horror, the way she goes from the 1,000-yard stare to instantly, it's right there. And she reacts to it, the smell of the formic acid. Jesus Christ. You'd be hard pushed to find an adult experienced professional actor to do as good a performance as that little girl. And what would she be then? 6, 7 years old, maybe. Brilliance. So is that. That's gonna be driving you mad now. I can't do it. Who can? I'm not an ant, you know. Anyway, folks, Halloween doth loom. We have an unboxing, a Halloween unboxing, all horror stuff. I don't know what's in there, but it's weird and pissed off. You know, I don't know what's in the box, but it came from Captain Ronnie on the Emerald Isle. Yes, of course. You know it's going to be great. I'm going to be doing that tomorrow. So, God only knows what's in there. May God save and preserve us from the horrors that may lie within. So, anyway, folks, I have been always Shadow KILT-MAN, so please, in the meantime, this ever ant-infested in-between time, please keep it Kilty, keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all and I do apologise, that went off on massive tangents, but hey, that's the name of the game, isn't it? Watch it. I'll put the links below to the watch party and the watch party / commentary, however you want to term it, and of course I'll give a lot more info on it and the review as well. But do it, ants in your pants, anti fancy, not Antifa. Ooh.